Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the gunpla revolution that is the real grade RX 78-2 Gundam version 2.0. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those awesome people over at Hobby Link Japan, so link is down there in the description. Now I will mention that I am absolutely floored by this kit right here. It is as good as you would expect, but I will mention a couple of things first. If you want to see the full build of this kit right here, I'm not doing it in this video, I did it in a previous one, so if you want to see all the intricacies of what is inside this, including the inner frame, all of the parts that attach together, the ridiculously new, unique joints that I've never seen anything like before, and just the way it all gels together into a perfect tiny gunpla, then check that out. The other thing is, Bandai did somewhat fudge up with this kit right here, which is not like them when it comes to a brand new flagship kit. You may have heard by now, but the sides of the head do not fit onto this correctly, so it does mean we've got a little bit of a gap just north of that visor section on the front of the head. See that little bit of a millimeter there? That's not meant to be there. Also, the Vulcans are not fully poking out through the holes like they should be. I'll also mention that the Vulcans on the RX 78-2 are meant to be yellow, but this is obviously a stylistic choice as that's the color they are in the box. Well, the gray that we have here. Now, I will mention I did try to fix this a little bit. I did see on Twitter that a Japanese person did mention that you just have to cut off all these little sections right here and then it should fit. That doesn't work. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So I did snip off all those little individual bits. I did sand off and file off a couple of little bits here and there to try and make it fit, but it's not that simple. The issue is a little bit more complex than that right there, because the minute you pop the sides of the head back on, the V-fin section as well as that Gundam mohawk on top do realign the sides of the head all over again into the position they were in before. So even though I did try that out, it didn't necessarily work. So as of right now, there doesn't seem to be a 1-point fix to this right now, and maybe down the line Bandai might release a version 2.0 where it's fixed, but it is worth noting. Anyway, into the review. So as usual, first off, jumping right on into the aesthetics, and what is there to say here besides probably everything? This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Now, where to start with something that has so much to say about it? I guess first off, just in case you're not that familiar with real grade gunpla is very, very, very small. This measures in at about 13.5 centimeters, which is 5.3 inches. So this is a tiny, tiny little Gundam. And the amount of detail Bandai has packed into it is obscene. Now, we'll mention aesthetically, the inner frame of this is almost as gorgeous as the exterior detail. So that does mean you may want to be thinking about purchasing two of these, one for the inner frame and one for the finished kit, because they both look as astounding as each other. No matter where you pop this kit and under whatever lighting, it always shines. It just looks absolutely spectacular. The amount of different colors, the amount of detail on it, the way it catches the light, and even the stickers, which are sticker style, which I'm usually not the biggest fan of, don't really take away from it too much. Now, we'll mention when I did build this, I did panel line it a little bit, so there are some lines in there, and I did use the included stickers. So besides that, nothing extra has been done to it at all. So jumping right on into that full 360-degree spin, so you can check out every little bit of detail on this for yourself. This is absolutely outstanding. There's detail on the detail on the detail. What I love about Bandai's flagship kits is they tend to pop everything they've learned and everything they've developed into it, and with this kit as well, they've even popped in some more. So what we get in the end is a perfect, real great imagining of the RX 78-2, and it's crazy to say that Bandai could even make it look better than the one that we had before. We've got everything, 2 shades of white, everything is color accurate out of box, detail on detail on detail, full color separation, gray sections coming from underneath the armor through it to give extra greebles and detail that's color separated too, and overall it's just one technical marvel of a kit that looks outstanding. Sometimes, especially when seeing just footage of this kit, it's easy to forget just how tiny it is, and the amount of detail per millimeter on this is unprecedented. And that brings me all the way to right now. So here we are again. This is a tiny, tiny little kit. The amount of detail on it is ridiculously impressive. And even the stickers on there I thought would kind of detract from it a little bit. It's kind of annoying. And the one thing I always complain about real great kits is that Bandai does not release the water slide decals on the same day that this comes out, so you could actually use the water slides. But yeah, the stickers in here, not too bad. Of course, if you do get in extremely close, especially on the darker plastics, you will notice the edge around them. So if you want to, or if you're going to paint it, you might want to wait for those RX 78-2 2.0 water slide decals. So because this version of the RX 78-2 is so detailed, I'm going to break this down body part by body part instead the usual kind of way, and we'll start with the head down. First off, we've got some interesting eye stickers. Like I mentioned in the build, you do have a choice of 3 options. There is yellow in behind them, not clear, just standard yellow plastic. We've got standard eye reflective stickers, and these ones here which kind of feature a kind of pupil-like element reflecting the camera that's meant to be inside of them. The head camera is a sticker as well in red. Again, this has some nice detail on it. You do have clear parts underneath those if you want to use those. The vents on the side look great too. I will mention the little venting in the muzzle, the 2 slots there. That has to be panel lined. It's not a cutout in this particular kit. The Vulcans don't pop all the way through, sadly, and the panel lining opportunities around the sides and back of this are fantastic. We also have a nice little bit of grey plastic coming through from underneath. Moving down to the torso now, and the color separation is phenomenal. We've got so many different colored elements here. Again, the stickers could look a little bit better. You can kind of see the outline of those, especially on the colored plastic. We've got tons of those nice little slots in the armor, which allow some of the gray from the inner frame to poke through. These are featured all over the place, and I especially like the way they've done it in the side of the chest. This is ridiculous. You'll also notice there is some shiny stickers there. They are an option. Underneath those are gray parts. And around in the back, the backpack still has that same level of real grey detail. We've got multiple shades of grey there, the light grey on the inside coming through, the dark grey, almost black for the vast majority of it. The verniers here, these can move upwards just like so. And we do have that nice little locking mechanism right there, which keeps the torso together, because of course there is a core fighter inside of it. Again, I'm not going to be talking about the core block and core fighter in this video because I spoke about that in detail in the build, but I will mention it is extremely impressive and rock solid, which is always important. This version of the real great RX 78-2 does feature an opening cockpit hatch. The upper section moves up and out of the way, the lower section moves down on a hinge just like so, and you can see into the cockpit of the core fighter within. Very impressive, and closing it up is in the exact same way, just in complete reverse. Again, extremely detailed. The shoulder armors are split very nicely into a light grey plastic and white, separating that white up perfectly. A lot of nice detail up top. We do have those cool kind of aircraft kind of light stickers. These are not lights, they're just stickers, but we've got a red one on that side and a green one on that side, kind of like the orientation lights that you would see on some aircraft. We've got a little grey section in here that is a clip holding the upper arm together, but it is nicely implemented. I will mention the stickers on here are almost those old school kind of fitted ones. On the white, these stickers don't stand out as much as on the colors, and I do kind of miss the old fully fitted real great stickers that kind of, for example, if you had a sticker for up here, it would cover the entire panel, so it would have no edge. But Bandai don't seem to do those anymore. The rest of the arm in here is incredibly impressive, so we've got a lot of nice colors on this. The rest of the arm is ridiculously impressive. Again, the same 2 tones of light grey on white. We can see somewhat into that ridiculously intricate elbow joint, and we do have a lot of those nice little grey sections coming through the armor as well. There is what it looks like from behind. Again, extremely detailed, and we do have a nice kind of aspect of the build I don't think I mentioned. We actually have to rotate these little sections here in order to get this little elbow section on, and then it all locks in together. Ridiculously intricate. Down to the iron diaper now. It's, well, what can I say? It's waist unit, which does look like a diaper. The color separation, again, looking great. We've got this little opening segment right here, which opens very simply. That is for attaching on anything. That's a hard point right there. We've got another hard point in the backpack as well. Bandai has even put incredible detail into the side skirting armors. Again, some nice grey detail coming from underneath. The front aspect of that iron diaper, or should I say Gundarium diaper, once again fully color separated, including that little yellow V in the crotch. As is usually the case when it does come to Gundam model kits, the lengths are one of the most detailed aspects on it and what you'll be spending most of your time building. Again, we've got 2 shades of white in this. That's a light grey and the white. A lot of detail coming through from the inner armor, this time again being some nice venting here and there. We do have a couple of those shiny stickers as well, down here on the ankle and up here on the upper leg, but those are completely optional if you don't like those reflective style. What already look incredibly detailed while standing there become even more detailed when you do bend them, because the amount of nice moving aspects in the knee and the upper leg. This is incredibly nicely designed. Even all the way to the soles of the feet. Again, we've got multiple shades of plastic coming through, even to a light gray in the middle of those verniers right there. Overall, the detail is incredibly nice. Some detail coming through on that ankle armor as well, and the whole thing just looks ridiculously otherworldly impressive. Also, these upper leg joints that go to the waist, this kit has the most detailed ones I have ever seen probably in any grade to date. So jumping into a size comparison, there it is side by side with the high grade Revive as well as the Master Grade 3.0. So as you can see, it's exactly the same size as the high grade as you'd expect, and a good deal smaller than the Master Grade. But if you want big, you'll probably be wanting the Perfect Grade. Now, at this point in time, there's multiple versions of each grade. There's 2 real grades, there's 2 perfect grades, there's 4 or 5 master grades, and countless high grades out there. So these right here are the top of each of those grades. So the real grade 2.0 is the most detailed and over the top real grade. The master grade 3.0 is the most detailed master grade. Best? Maybe not. And the perfect grade RX-78-2 Unleashed is the craziest version of the RX-78-2 full stop. All of which also model kits in their own right. So as for some more size comparisons, some main Gundams including the Gundam Mark II, that's the high grade, as well as the high grade Zeta Gundam, the high grade Freedom Gundam and the high grade Rising Freedom, and the high grade Gundam Exia and Gundam Barbatos. Finally, there it is beside 2 more real grade kits, that's the real grade High New Gundam and the real grade Epion. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the real grade RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0. What we get in here is the usual loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle. On top of that, we also have the bazooka, a grand total of 7 hands, landing gears for using with the core block when it's in core fighter mode. But I will also mention that I did notice we do not have any tiny real grade pilot figure in here. I'm not sure when Bandai stopped doing this, if it was with this kit or one before, but we don't have one. So when it comes to the hands that are included in here, they're ball joint attachment like we normally see. The hands that we do have that aren't for holding onto weapons are these fists right here, as well as these widespread open hands, and we have a pair of both. The detail on these is incredible. We do have some nice, kind of very minute detail in the joints between these, which look like the points that they would actually move at, which is pretty cool. Overall, from every angle, they look great, and they are extremely nice hands. On top of that, then, this kit is packing some ridiculous articulation. So we do have this little bit of a sideways ball joint in the wrist that gives us that little bit more ride here. So that does mean when you are actually posing these up, you can get a nice little curve to the arm as well. So posing this kit with these nice posed hands is, well, nice to do. The rest of the hands in here are for using with the weapons. The first of the weapons we have are these beam sabers. The beams themselves, they're average enough. Same goes for the handles right here. These are just one single piece. Just snip them off the runner, and this is them. When it comes to attaching on the beam sabers, we've got specific hands for using with those. You just attach on the hands in the normal way and slide the beam sabers in. It is super simple, not much to it at all. They hold on tight, and getting this into a pose is an absolute dream. This is both the right combination of rock solid as well as very poseable, and everything works fluidly. There's no tight joints combined with loose joints or anything like that to make your life a nightmare. It just falls into the pose you want it in. And there's that classic RX-78-2 slashing pose, and it pulled it off without a hitch, and it looks phenomenal. Mesmerizing kit so far. When the beam sabers are not in use, you can just pop out the beam just like so. I will mention the beam is a little not tight, but it's not loose enough to fall out, but it will pop out beam first as opposed to handle first. Then you pop out the handle, and the handle attaches into the backpack like so. Now this plugs into the backpack, not onto a peg, which objectively looks a whole lot better and makes a lot more sense than there being these kind of little stick out pegs in the back of a Gundam. On top of that then, I will mention we do have great articulation here. These move back like so, but they also swing upwards like this. So the whole beam saber can move all the way up to exactly where it needs to be for the arm to move back and grab onto them just like so. That is such a slick maneuver. So the next weapon that we have in here is the beam rifle. Now this has a whole lot going on it once again. We've got the front handle, which moves side to side just like so. The lens section here that can move out to the side and side like that. We have some insanely nice color separation here. We've got the yellow in the lens. We've got light gray, which also moves inside of this little cutout segment here. But I will mention while building this, I did snap the handle right here. So just that point there, see that part with the little slot in it? That is definitely a weak point. I did cement it back, but it will and can snap there while building, so be careful. It was basically when I was pushing this top part on, I pushed from the handle, which usually is fine in gunpla, but the plastic seems to be getting a little more brittle as time goes by. So when it comes to getting the beam rifle attached, this is a little bit awkward, at least until you get used to it. And there seems like there's a cool gimmick here, but there isn't. So first off, I will mention I'm a little bit peeved at this because I did do that thing that happens to you when you're building gunpla sometimes. I dropped a part of it, it fell on the ground, and disappeared for way too long. This hand just kind of seems needlessly complex. So the way that this works is you slot one piece of this 3-piece hand onto the handle just like this. Then you pop the part that has the trigger finger onto it like so. And then there's a little bit of a closing mechanism on it that seems like it will do something, but it does not. And then finally you attach the back onto this hand. Now this hand is missing something that it was so close to having. And that was pretty much a locking, unlocking, gripping, ungripping mechanism that doesn't involve assembly and disassembly of the hand. Like you just slot it open, that you just pull it open, then you can take the rifle out and put it in and then close it and then the rifle's in. But it doesn't do that. You have to completely reassemble and disassemble all the time. But anyway, in a pose, this does look cool. It's a very nice detailed rifle. It's just the hand seems needlessly complex and could have just gone a little bit more for an awesome gimmick. However, there is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel in question being the Gundam's butthole, because just beside the butthole, you open up this little flap right here. This is where you store your rifle when it's not in use, which is pretty cool. It does kind of make up for the fact that you have to disassemble the hand every time you attach it and reattach it and all that sort of stuff, but it just slots in by attaching the triggers section onto it just like so. No adapters needed, no fold-out peg, nothing like that. Nothing unsightly on the side of the rifle. It just slots on it holds on perfect. Next up in here now we've got the bazooka. This is very nicely detailed. We do have a extension retraction mechanism. The handle moves forward and back just like so. You can see the missiles color separated inside of there, which is a very nice touch. So it does mean we've multiple shades of plastic. The white, the inner frame style gray, and the light gray on some of the details in there. We also have the rear sections of those in that dark gray and the vent part of the back, all looking good. When it comes to attaching on the bazooka, it's exactly the same as the rifle, except you're using the holding hands that we used with the beam sabers. You disassemble these in the same 3-way kind of way we would have done before, pop it into the hand. It is a little bit awkward, I will not lie. But the hands seem kind of overly complex for the sake of being overly complex. It does look nice once it is attached into the hand though. Getting this into a pose is a breeze because the articulation on here is very, very nice. So you can have it sitting up on the shoulder like this in a more kind of relaxed, non-firing kind of pose, or you can actually straighten the arm when this is attached, lay it up onto the shoulder in this sort of angle for more over-the-top dynamic shooting angles. So overall it just flows very nicely with the mech and always looks cool. I will mention there's a couple of attachment points on this. There's no usual crotch hole for attaching it onto. When the beam rifle is attached onto the waist, you cannot use the hole in the waist, so you have to take that off. That is what it looks like attached if you want it a little higher up on your stand. But if you are using that particular hole, you can use the one in the backpack as well to attach an action base or stand onto. And it all works out really well. It's solid and holds on perfect. So the last piece of equipment we have in here is the shield, and once again this is ridiculously detailed. Full color separation from the white to the yellow on that star symbol right there. We've got the red, we've got some stickers as well. These are optional of course. You can see the outline a little bit against the red, but not too much. We can see some gray coming from underneath, and speaking of underneath, flipping around to the underside and just look at that beautiful level of detail in all of those little bits right there, all those little struts, as well as the various moving parts. Now, I will mention there is nothing to close the little visor on this. I'm not sure if that's always on an RX-78-2 or not, but it's not here. This little bit right here does feature a sliding mechanism, so it can move down and up. I assume you can flip this on upside down if you kind of want to put the shield on in the Gundam the Origin style way, which is the visor to the bottom like so. This is the attachment point for attaching it onto the Gundam. There is some nice rotation there too. We've got this fold out little segment right here, which I'll mention a little bit later on, and a simple flip up handle. So when it does come to attaching on a Gundam shield, I always like to check if you can do it the lazy way, and you totally can. And that is not being held in the hand at all, and that is actually how this is designed. So using the upper segment just clips onto the forearm just like so. This does have a nice hinge on it, so it can be on the side of the arm or the rear of the arm. On the side of the arm, it's in its defensive position. This is easy enough to move around, but I do recommend grabbing the arm by the arm, not the shield, to move this around because it can pop off, but it does look dynamic, it looks great, it looks hefty, and it looks powerful. Now, as for flipping it to the back so it's kind of out of the way, it kind of moves a little bit away from the mobile suit, so it doesn't really look like it's in much of a relaxed position. So this just seemed to be, well, to move it around as opposed to move it to the rear of the arm. But overall, so far so good. So there is a second way for this to be attached on, and that is to be held in the hand. Just take it off like this, pop on one of the holding hands we used for the beam sabers, pop in the part up top, pop out the handle, attach the handle into the hand like so, and yes, this is the way it's said to do it in the manual, this kind of punching shield kind of pose. And I will also mention that this is the only thing that it's struggled with so far. That wrist joint, that cool ball joint on the inside wrist joint, that right there is a little bit too weak to hold this up entirely. Just kind of drops down a little bit. It's not a big deal, but I'm not sure how overall this kit will hold up over time, or if anything bigger is attached onto it, will it struggle? Anyway, you can pop it in at this angle as well, so you can have it in a holding position in the hand. And I suppose I might as well check if you can actually attach both attachments at once, if they're lined up correctly. I can only assume that they are. And yeah, you can attach both the upper arm one and the fist one for a double attachment to make sure it is good and, yeah, super strong. Yeah, honestly, that's the way I'd do it if I was going to leave it on there. But yeah, that is not all this awesome shield right here can do. You can also use this for storage. This little flip out section up top, it just pops out just like that there. And just like on the back of the Gundam, the beam rifle can be attached onto it just like so. And that's what that would look like from the front. If for one reason or another you don't want to attach the beam sabers onto the backpack, or you're using the backpack for something else, they can both pop on just at this point right here. And that always makes me wonder, can I actually flip this around, have it attached in there, grab the other one and pop it in beside it upside down, and then just pop in the beam effects like that and like that for an awesome shield beam claw that can, well, attack on the fly. That, might as well get it attached. Just popping that into the hand in the way that we did before, like so. And there you go. Big old Gundam shield beam claw type thing. Honestly, the Gundam should do that. Defense and offense all in one. So when they're not in use, we can store both the bazooka and the shield. The bazooka can be stored just like what we would have seen with the beam rifle, so it just pops onto that little tab just like so perfectly. And the shield is actually quite interesting. So we just close up everything on the bottom here. We've got this little section right there, and that just slides down this little bit, which outcrops right here, just like so. And that just attaches onto the back, and you can move it sideways like that. If you do have both of these attached, of course, you have blocked both of the base or stand holes, which means it's going to have to just stand there like that. And I will admit, I think I'm the one who's going to make this mistake, but I'm probably going to try to pull this off in future and forget that it's a sliding mechanism. But at the same time, and when I'm thinking about it, this does have the usual 2-point base adapter, which 2-point backpack adapter, which I don't know if real grades normally do. That means you can just grab yourself a high grade like the Rising Freedom right here, pop off its backpack. I might need to just move this out of the way, and then you can just pop that backpack onto the Gundam just like so if you wanted yourself a RX-78 with a little bit more flair than it would normally have. So that is a really, really cool addition. They really should make this a common point between high grade and real grade from here on out. That's cool. I'm gonna grab another couple of these for the sake of awesomeness. What will the Gundam look like with the Mighty Strike Freedoms backpack? That being some nice white and gold royal wings. This pops on perfectly. Get those spread out ever so slightly, just so we can get a little bit of an idea. Looking extremely, extremely cool. There's the front, and that doesn't attach onto most things very well, actually. But yeah, get on there. That is the back. And just grabbing one more really cool backpack, and this is the high-grade aerial rebuild. So just popping that off. This does have a slightly different kind of backpack. Does it fit? It does fit. That is very, very nice. Just align all those wings like so. Get it in a little bit of a flight pose like that. And there we go. It with some wings. That is so cool. They need to do that more often. Make more compatibility with high-grade stuff. That is awesome. That is great. That is what I like to see. And just very quickly while I'm at it, I'm going to test the hands with the high-grade accessory. And there we go. That fits fine. So you're able to use high-grade weapons in the hands as well. That's some unprecedented, very beautiful 1/44th scale compatibility right there. So now jumping on to the articulation, build-wise this is rock solid, which isn't necessarily what you would always expect from a real grade. It is exactly what real grades are like nowadays, which is a good thing. And as usual, it's time to check out the full pose. But seems like somehow I forgot to put the backpack back on, so there we go, there's the backpack. Now let's test it out. So getting this into the usual pose, and it's so fluid and so nice. The legs are the most impressive thing about the whole thing. The ankles, the knees, the hips are all great. We've got a nice locking, unlocking mechanism in the crotch, which allows the hips to drop, give you a little bit more up to the front. The arms are nice as well, they flow well. The shoulders do move at a weird kind of angle that can kind of be a little bit counterintuitive, and the ab crunch could be a little bit better. The core block, as usual, is screwing that up for the entire robot at large. But overall, it is still mighty, mighty impressive. And this right here is what we get. So as you can see, it's the ab crunch that definitely keeps it from shining entirely. Do I have this the whole way? Yeah, that is the whole way. There is no true ab crunch in this, because the actual torso right here is the core block. The ankles are incredible, the way they can actually move the way that they do to the front and to the back. The knee bends in an incredible kind of way. The shoulders do angle upwards first before moving out the way. So instead of kind of just moving out at the shoulder like that, they move up. So now the peg is pointing up the way and they move around it in this kind of direction. So that kind of, you know, if I pop that off, you can see that this moves upwards like so. So now you're moving around this point. So it isn't always exactly gonna go where you kind of expect it to go. So when it comes to the neck, this is quite nice. It almost stretches out and back in, if you get what I mean. We do have the full giggity, giggity, giggity goo, and it's quite the giggity goo. There it is, looking all the way down, so it can look over its own chest, looking all the way up, so you can get those nice flight poses out of it. And we've got the side to side all the way, and of course a little bit of pivot, side to side pivot. Actually, not a whole lot. Shoulder moves up, down, and side to side inside the shoulder. The shoulder armor can move up and down like a kind of flap segment. It moves independently to the arm, which is always handy. There is the arm moving up and out. And then from there, it kind of moves in this kind of waving fashion like so. There is the full spin all the way around, slightly clashes with the backpack a bit. There is the arm all the way out and up. I'm pretty sure I did that already, but there it is again. Full spin at the upper arm. Very nice bend at the elbow. We've got this nice little extra joint right here that gives us some side to side, but that does feel a little loose and loosening. And we do have the normal ball joint wrist right here. The ab crunch is not on the abs, it is further up the robot, and it kind of almost jumps a little bit when you do bring it up, so that can be a little bit kind of awkward at times, but it's not too bad. Besides that though, all we've got is rotation right here, because it is all blocked somewhat by the core block. The skirting armor here is on a ball joint, can sometimes clash with the chest right there and get in the way a little bit, but most of the time you can actually angle it out of the way. Side skirting up and down, back and forward. Double premium butt flap that can move up, does clash with the torso ever so slightly. Inside the waist we do have a locking mechanism which allows the hips to drop down just like that, so you can get some higher kicks. And speaking of the kicks, there it is, all the way up to the front, very, very nice. All the way out to the back, very nice again. Testing the splits, so there we go, full splits. And we do have full well, not full, but semi-rotation at the upper leg. Also, when the knee bends right here, this little bit of armor separates out too, which is pretty cool. Down to the leg now, and when the knee bends, all of the armor moves so nicely, exposing some nice interior detail inside of that. And getting the foot on the ground to test out the functional movement, aka what it can do without the sole of the foot moving off the ground. So there it is all the way to the back, so not too bad. There it is all the way to the front. Then we do have a bend at the toe, so the toe is touching the ground still. That is incredible. And when it comes to the side, whoa, that feels so nice. To side, that is incredible as well. All in all, there's so much going on down here. Again, toe bend, the works. Also, you can move this little bit of armor here as well to just kind of protect that joint when parts are bent. So once again, there is the kit in the usual pose with all of that articulation. This is absolutely and utterly incredible. This can really pose up a storm. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and it's obvious this is Gundarium tier 100%. This breaks the mold in all the best ways. This is a phenomenal RX-78-2, and probably the best one up there with the perfect grade unleashed. Aesthetically, this is pure perfection. The only thing could really hold against this is the fact that there is a little bit of a fudge up in the head that really isn't the biggest deal. I don't mind it at all, but it could bother you a bit. There's going to be some fixes eventually out there for that, so you can do it while you're building it, but as for now, it does look a little, but not much, funny. Otherwise, you've got the works, so many different colors on this, so many layerings of parts, options of stickers, and it just looks absolutely incredible. And the fact that it is so small is mind-blowing. When it comes to the accessories in here, we've got a whole lot. We've got everything that we could need, and if you wanted more, there is an option set coming out soon. We've got the beam rifle, beam sabers, bazooka, and shield in here, and each one has incredible detail. Well, the beam sabers are normal, but everything else looks incredible with that same new real grade level of detail. Finally, when it does come to the articulation, the ab crunch is a little bit limited, but Bandai did put a lot either side of that to make sure you do get plenty out of it. But besides that, this is some of the nicest, most fluid, solid articulation I have ever seen in such a tiny kit, and it just looks great from every perspective. Every little bend and nuance in this is designed that you can see inside to that beautiful inner frame when it does bend, move, and pose. It is incredible. So yeah, what can I say? This is a kit that you cannot miss. This is the next generation of real grade, a tiny, small-scale RX-78-2 like no other. Anyway, as always, I got mine through HobbyLink Japan. Link will be down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I can't finish this video without special thanks to those who support the channel on the memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhardt, Joe, Orgy59061, ShadowWolf179, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.